After me and Grace McKenna were finally done having sex again and she wore me out and we finally went to get something to eat, and as soon as we got to the buffet restaurant we started eating a lot of food, and even the fat people there said, my god, these people eat that much food and they are still in good shape, that's crazy. And me and Grace started talking about everything and she mentioned her father's old house, and I asked her, do you want to keep that house because it's still a nice house, and she said yes, but I love your house, and she said I don't know why but I don't want to stop having sex with you, I can't stop thinking about you. And I said, well, your biology changed when you became stronger, your genes and everything became more dominant. The reason why I don't want to stop having sex with me, honey, is because you love me, and it's also because our bodies are physically superior and your body knows that too, and just like any other man or woman we also have natural pheromones that attract the opposite sex, which is why every man stares at you now. And she said, point taken, I see that. And she said, wait a minute, if I'm stronger does that mean that every other part of me is stronger, even my bones and everything? And I said, yes ma'am, even your skin, and you probably won't age for a very long time, you will probably outlive every normal human woman, and you will keep your incredible beauty and lovely curvy body. And she giggled cutely and smiled and she said, I like that. And she said, I want to go to the bathroom, and she whispered, are you coming with me? And we both went into the public bathroom and we both had sex again, and I said, oh god baby yes, and everyone heard it and they said, what the fuck is going on in here, is someone having sex? And then we both moaned loudly and came at the same time, and I said, oh my god, and we both laughed and said damn, and then we both went back out to eat like nothing happened, and some people were looking at us while scowling with anger, and we continued eating like nothing happened. And Grace said, what, really loud, and then they all stopped staring at me and her. After that I continued training on my own and with Grace, but I never stopped training. I trained every day like my brothers and my father, and I now have the perfect sword techniques to cut Musashi Miyamoto without killing him, and I now have the perfect non-lethal knockout punches. And then the time came for the Great Right Eye tournament, and I fought Musashi Miyamoto first, and I countered him with all my techniques, and he got serious and tried to kill me, but I cut all his major muscles that allowed him to move, and I disarmed all his weapons, even his mental cutting stare, and I was declared the winner, and I gained all his powers and skills without killing him. And then I fought my brothers and I did the same thing but already gained their powers and skills a long time ago. And then came Yujiro Hanma and I said, father, I want to show you something, and then I revealed my divine demon back in demon brain form, and he said, finally I get to see it, the true power of a Hanma. And then me and Yujiro Hanma continued to trade blows in the true Hanma way, but as the battle progressed it was clear that Yujiro Hanma was losing the battle, and then that's when dad decided to use it, and Yujiro said, I'm not letting you kill me again. And I said, who said anything about killing you? And then I moved so fast that no one hardly saw what I did, and I disabled all of Yuhiro's limbs. I even disabled the part of his brain that makes a person move, and he said, what the hell did you do to me? I can't move. And I said, that's the point, I have won, it's over Yujiro, I'm keeping my title. And the announcer said Bobby Cooper Hanma is the winner, and Yujiro said, no, come back here. And I said, it's over, I won, I could have killed you but I found a way to let you live. And he said, turn it off now, give me back my movement. And then after I won the fight against my father Yujiro, I gave dad his ability to move again, and he stood up and said, okay, I am done for now, I will go home back to your mother. And I said, tell mom I said hi, and he smirked and said, I will try to remember that while I'm having sex with your mother. And I said, gross, I don't want to hear about that. And Yujiro Hanma smirked and said, see you later, kiddo. And then Yujiro Hanma walked up to the ring to fight me, and I said, grandpa, could you show me the human nunchuck technique? And then he said, sure kid, and then he demonstrated the movements, and I said, fascinating. And Yujiro Hanma said, so you mastered your demon brain and demon back years ago, no wonder you're able to master everything so easily, but you're not the only one, grandson. And then my grandpa Yujiro showed me his true form, and then for the first time in my life I finally got a real fight. But I trained for many years honing all my skills and techniques, and I became the strongest person on earth when I was 10 years old, and I've been training every day just to fight him.